Do you realize every religion was given to enslaved people, not created, given, forced, imposed, beaten into them? You didn't choose it. Your ancestors didn't choose it. It was handed to them through blood, chains, and trauma. Think about it. Name one religion enslaved people created for themselves during slavery. You can't, because when you're in bondage, you don't write scriptures, you don't form temples, you don't build belief systems. You accept whatever the master gives you, or you die. Let's go through the religions that were forced onto oppressed people. Christianity, forced on Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. The Bible was used to control, not to free. Slaves obey your masters was quoted more than, let my people go. The book of Exodus, the story of rebellion, was often removed from slave Bibles. They gave you a white Jesus and beat you until you said, Amen. Islam, spread through Arab conquest, especially in North and East Africa. Africans were captured, converted, and renamed. Look up the Zanj Rebellion, enslaved Africans under Arab rule in Iraq. Islam didn't always come through peace. It often came with shackles and swords. Judaism, weaponized during European colonialism to justify chosen versus cursed bloodlines. Used to label black people as the children of Ham, cursed and made to serve. Later transformed into trauma-born identities like black Hebrew Israelites, trying to reclaim power in a system built to deny it. Even Torah texts were twisted to divide, rank, and control. Hinduism, enforced through caste systems, where Dalits, the untouchables, were considered spiritually polluted. Used to keep indigenous and tribal people in generational poverty and exclusion. British colonizers even used caste to enforce division during their rule in India. Buddhism, seen as peaceful but also spread through imperial expansion, especially in Asia. Used by some empires to control lower classes through karma, detachment, and spiritual hierarchy. Told to accept suffering as part of life. Just like slaves were told, your reward is in heaven. Catholicism, spread through forced conversions during colonization of the Americas, Caribbean, and Africa. Missionaries worked alongside conquistadors. Indigenous people were baptized under threat, forbidden from practicing their ancestral ways. They erased your gods and gave you saints. They replaced your ancestors with popes and priests. So ask yourself, if religion is so divine, why did it always come with colonizers? Why does it always come after invasion? Why does it erase your name, your land, your tongue, and then give you a God that looks like your oppressor? 1. What is a slave? A slave has no freedom, no choice, no voice, no ownership of their body, mind, or spirit. So when you're enslaved, you don't choose a God. Whatever the master gives you, that becomes your religion. You didn't pick Jesus. You were handed Jesus between whips and chains. 2. As a slave, you don't get a God. You get a control system. They didn't give you religion to save your soul. They gave it to break your spirit. They banned your language, banned your rituals, burned your altars, then handed you a book and said, this is your God now. Obey. And we've been obeying ever since. 3. The trauma passed down, generation after generation. The original slave master died, but the mental programming didn't. Now your mother becomes the slave master. Your pastor becomes the slave master. Your school becomes the slave master. And the whip is no longer leather. It's fear, shame, and guilt. 4. Before colonization, we encountered our ancestors, not a man named Jesus. Our spiritual systems were built on ancestral connection, nature, dreams, visions, spirit rituals. We didn't believe, we experienced. That's why we had warriors, That's why we had revolts. That's why we fought back, because we were guided by those who came before us, not a God we never met. 5. Now we got descendants of slaves saying, I encountered Jesus. Let's ask the real question. How? How did you encounter someone with no grave, no bones, no verified description, no language, no birthplace with evidence? Nobody in history has ever described how Jesus looked, not even the Bible. Yet people say, he appeared to me. I saw him. How? How do you encounter a being whose name was created by humans? Jesus is an English mistranslation of a Greek word from a Roman system, forced onto African people. So let's be clear, what you encountered was a colonial hallucination, shaped by trauma, repetition, and cultural programming. 6. You were supposed to encounter your ancestors, not a Roman deity. When our people used to dream, fast, or speak in trance, they didn't meet Jesus. They met their grandmothers, spirit guides, nature spirits, and warrior bloodlines. That's what gave them the strength to revolt, to rebel, to escape. Now, you close your eyes and see a European face named Jesus, because the memory of your ancestors was replaced. 7. Christians say God the Father created humans. But where's the womb? Let's really ask this. If God is the Father, then where is the mother? Where is the divine feminine? Where is the womb that birthed mankind? They love to say, the Father created us, but men don't give birth. There's no creation without the feminine principle, and yet Christianity completely erases it. That's not divine order. That's patriarchal programming. 8. Everything they deny in your ancestors, they blindly give to a mystery God. They say, ancestors are dead, but praise Jesus who died 2,000 years ago. They say, we don't talk to the dead, but pray to a man whose tomb they can't even locate. They say, we don't worship man, but sing, kneel, and cry over an image that came from European paintings. Meanwhile, your ancestor literally lives in your cells, and you ignore them. 9. You don't need to know your ancestor. You are your ancestor. Ever wonder why? You look like your great-great-grandfather. You dream of people you never met. You feel called to places you've never been. That's called ancestral memory, spiritual DNA. Yet people toss it aside and say, I don't know them, but I know Jesus. How? You've never met him. He didn't pass down his blood to you. He didn't birth your culture. He didn't guide your lineage. Your ancestors did. 10. People will tell you, forget your ancestors, they're dead. We don't know them. But in the same breath say, Jesus is my Lord. He rose, he lives, he's with the Father. Let's break that nonsense apart with deep logic and ancestral truth. We don't know our ancestors. Then look in the mirror. You carry their face, blood, DNA, voice tone, body structure, spiritual memory. You are your ancestors. That's why you walk like them, laugh like them, react like them. You're not disconnected. You're living proof they existed. The reason you resemble your great-grandmother, the reason you have your grandfather's jawline, is because your ancestors live in you, not in the clouds. We were made in our image, not theirs. You've never met anyone who looks like Jesus, but you've met 10 family members who look like your ancestors. So who's really dead, and who's really alive? Final thought, the real spiritual power was always within you, not outside of you. They replaced your inner voice with the colonizer's God, then taught you to fear your own roots and worship your own enslavement. You don't know Jesus. You were taught Jesus. You don't know God. You were given God, and the name you cry out to was never yours.